Natalia, joining here today with a special guest all the way in the sunny England, which is a surprise for some, Alasdair Whyte from Corporate Jet Investor. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And thanks for coming on, because despite of what's happening in the world with the craziness and the pandemic and everything in a bit of a chaos, you're still active, and that's very nice to hear. That's exactly why I've got you on today. So I wanted to go into a bit about what's happening in the business aviation world. And also, I mean, the great thing with you is, Alasdair, that you tap into the helicopter market, business aviation, and also yachting, in fact. So we've got a nice little ball of subjects to cover there. So tell me a bit more, what's going on?
I think at the moment it's a bit of a phony war. It's, lockdown is on. Everyone knows, lockdown's on, so people have stopped flying. Ports won't take yachts. The helicopter market's a funny one because you have the offshore market, but which is keeping going, and the mission critical services. So air ambulances are very busy at the moment. But on the jet side, it's really quiet. Most of the major jet markets are closed. You can't fly, and I think it's this phony war where everyone knows we've got a tough economic market coming, but we don't know what it's going to be like yet.
Yeah. And I saw the other day in the south of France, a private jet tried to make a landing and was sent right back to England. So people are trying their luck.
Yeah, it's an amazing industry for shooting itself in the foot, isn't it? That's just ridiculous. And travel bans are on for a reason. It doesn't help. It doesn't help that you had a month ago charter brokers sending out press releases about how they're having record traffic as people tried to get home. It doesn't really make people like you as an industry outside. Yeah. And I think the oligarchs flying into Nice and being sent back, it's just embarrassing, really.
Yeah, and it doesn't show very good space for the actual carrier, I suppose, because that's a negative rather than a positive. I mean,
no, it's terrible.
But
and at the same time, you've got trade bodies like NBAA in the States and EBAA, the European Business Aviation Association, trying to get grants and fight for their industry, and it just knocks them back when you've got idiots. The one funny thing is, apparently they when they landed and the French customs said you need to go back, they got out their phone and started calling people and failed to get through to anyone, which I think is quite funny and must have been very satisfying for the policemen.
Especially the French policemen. I mean,
yeah, they must have enjoyed that. But it's just shocking, and it doesn't help, and it's just terrible PR. And really, whoever was involved in that flight should have known better.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you think bribes are going to win, but unfortunately,
it's never a good idea.
Yeah. Oh goodness. So I know that you're connected with the outside world and the aviation business, as you're holding regular meetings via technology. Thank goodness for that. So tell me a bit more about these weekly town hall meetings.
So we've done two. The third's tomorrow, and they're just astonishing. We're sort of getting like 600 people signing in. Sometimes at different times, but typically 300-400 or more watching at one time, and it's crazy. And you have people dialing in going, hi, I'm coming in from Texas, people coming in from India, people from Australia, and it's amazing how it's amazing how the industry is pulling together. And I think everyone's missing each other, and that's the one thing we're hoping, is that when all this is over and we're out of lockdown, people are going to want to meet again, people are going to want to fly again, and people are going to want to travel again.
Absolutely, because another thing that you organise, of course, are regular events worldwide, and that has been like the epicenter of getting together and talking business and planning and coming together as an industry to do better for the actual industry itself. I mean, of course, you have the e-base, you have your other aviation shows, but this is more of an intimate gathering where you can do Q&As and really get that insight from a professional point of view. So I guess you're missing that, and everyone else is. I
think we're missing it as a business. We're probably running events is about as fashionable as selling exotic animals in a live meat market. It's no one really wants to do it or go to them. but we're hoping it will come back. After SARS, people were desperate to meet up and catch up and see what's going on, and we'll see that. It is going to be a really tough market. It's going to be, we've never seen countries locked down and for so long and come out of it, and we've got no idea what's going to happen to the economies around the world. And I think that's the worry. On the plus side, I think people are going to want to fly privately. There's going to be an uptake in business aviation because you're in a jet, you're not with 300 other people. Airlines are going to take a while to rebound from this. So businesses that really need to meet, there's a huge incentive to fly privately, but also there's going to be companies desperately holding on to cash, and cash is king. And so it'll be interesting to see how long we can all last with video conferencing.
Yes, that's right. And so what are some of the questions or statements that are coming out in your online meets and greets?
I think the really interesting is it's just too early. So aircraft values, everyone accepts that an aircraft is worth less than it was on December the 31st, which is amazing as well. If you think how quickly this has happened in 100 days, the whole world has shut down, or most of the world has shut down. But no one knows by how much. And I think that at the moment, really, it's a waiting game. How much is an aircraft worth? How much is a yacht worth? Are we going into, or how much? And everyone can guess at it, but it's just a moving market. I think the great quote was an appraiser in Australia last week was saying it was like the wind. We can see it, we know it's there, but we can't work out what effect it's having yet.
Yeah, that's true. And that kind of resounds with a familiar quote that I was given a few years back by a yacht designer who said, well, the markets are like clouds. They're always there, but they just move around. So it's a matter of just finding them and gauging what's going to happen and how to also adapt to the market. So it's interesting. And I wonder, do you think that new opportunities will arise? Is there going to be a new something add on to what travel is going to be like in the business aviation world?
Yeah, I think that's the exciting thing, that we've got creative destruction. Probably now there's someone out there sitting bored of Tiger King on Netflix and getting out an Excel sheet and trying to come up with something and work, and there's probably new business models coming, and that's what's exciting about it. And there are going to be companies that will do well out of it. I guess it's just a waiting game at the moment. Not a lot's going to happen while people are locked down and can't meet, and it will come back. And you're right, there's going to be exciting new models out there. My gut feeling is that it's not going to be as bad as the 2009 recession for yachting or for jets or for helicopters. I think all of those markets the helicopter market's been in downturn for the last 6 years. The jet market hasn't really rebounded, has never got close to rebounding from 2008. And it's the same with the yacht market. There's been some activity in the higher end, and I have a feeling it's going to be a dip. Definitely there's going to be a dip. You'd have to be so optimistic to think we're not going to see an effect, and all of them trail the global economy, so they're always slightly behind. The really interesting is I spoke to 3 manufacturers last week, 2 of them the CEOs or presidents, and they haven't had cancellations yet. But as one of them said, it's too early to make that a trend. If someone's working from home, fighting for their business, they probably haven't got round to calling the sales guy they bought the aircraft from. But at the moment, we haven't seen a rush of cancellations. People are still taking delivery of aircraft. So that will be an interesting trend. It's going to go down, but how much will it go down by?
And also, we're being told and promised that, yes, confinement will end at a specific date. And after that, slowly, some of the industries will keep going, and that will have an impact. And but then, do we believe that, or do we sit down tight and just wonder, okay, this is 3 weeks, another 3 weeks, another 3 weeks, and then we're at the end of the year, and then we've missed out on a whole load of opportunities, and especially for manufacturers. So many people are involved in the build of an aircraft, and also the refits or any maintenance is such a big deal in aviation. It's not easy. So it's got like a snowball effect, and we have to wait and see. But
and also long? you think Europe is so, is it conceivable we're still going to have a lot of Europe locked down in August? Possibly. And these are the months where business jet operators and yacht charterers make all their money. So it is, if it drags on or we have a second wave, it's just terrifying.
Yeah. And how involved are you with the Asian market? Do you have any feelers from that?
Yeah, we've delayed our Singapore conference from June. The Asian market's an interesting one. It's very small, obviously, on all fronts. The business jet market, utilization is coming back. That we're actually working on something on that now, and hoping that could lead the rest, and that we'll see a pickup. But then again, just as you get people excitedly telling you that life's back to normal in Hong Kong, and then it's not, and they're locking down or starting to lock down again. It's just now's the time to be a virologist, isn't it? No one really knows what's going on, and but Asia's been hit very badly. I think maybe the interesting in Asia is that a lot of the business jet operators, China's got 120 for a fleet of 300 aircraft. We haven't seen any big bankruptcies yet, which is interesting. And maybe they're coming, or maybe they've some. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Maybe they've had government aid, but that's an interesting one to watch. But we haven't seen. It really seems to be that hibernation, like companies they're frozen. There's a lot of furloughing going on. There's a lot of cutting costs, but we just don't know what's going to happen when people can finally go outside.
And no one's really sharing that news. It's very right on target that what you're saying is that none of the companies, the big guys, are saying that they're going to go through financial difficulties. They're just saying, okay, we're on lockdown. We are paying our staff, and that's about it.
I saw some figures last week for fuel sales in the States. One of the big FBOs, I can't remember the figures off the top of my head, but they were seeing massive cuts, and we're seeing huge drops in traffic. But yeah, you're right. And the funny thing is, actually, it's very hard to hide a bankruptcy. Like nothing. We typically, when someone goes bankrupt, I typically get 3 or 4 emails from their competitors, and I haven't had any yet, which makes me think it hasn't happened. Bad news travels really fast, and we haven't seen any yet. So I just think at the moment that we're just, I think a lot of business aviation and actually quite a lot of yachting companies have got very good at running on cash flow and just holding on. And I think that's what's going on at the moment. it's very easy. You can furlough. A lot of governments are being very supportive, and if you can furlough a lot of staff, you can cut them. I think Air Partner, the listed air charter broker, has admitted it's furloughing staff, and Gamma Aviation, which is also listed, is. Yeah. But the thing about this industry is all these industries, there's so few listed companies. It's very hard to find out what's going on.
Right, that's right. Wow. And especially in yachting, I mean, we heard some figures that things were not great and going down every quarter. So what's going to happen? I mean, how did they get the money to keep going? I suppose that's the big question. And then you kind of question, but that's very political now. How are we being bailed out in these times? Like the French government are helping out small businesses like myself, and I'm like, well, that's nice, but when I was paying all these huge taxes, I never got anything back. And that's the way the world goes, I suppose. But let's look forward, I suppose, too. And
I guess the only thing is it's not over yet. I wonder. It's amazing what governments are doing, and I know there's always gaps. People are missing out. Like a lot of self-employed people aren't getting the support they need. There's always gaps, but they are trying so hard to throw money everywhere at the moment.
Yeah.
And which is when you don't help yourself as an industry by then doing a charter to Nice for people going on holiday. It just doesn't help. You're just tarring it for everyone else in the industry.
And I saw a lot of advertisements going out and on social media, like, yeah, now is the time to have your perfect holiday. Hire a plane, go and charter a yacht for a month with your family and friends. And you kind of think, well, that's a little pushing it now.
Yeah, actually, you do have to wonder that, obviously there's few places better to spend a month than a yacht. But if you're stuck on a yacht and you're not allowed to go into port for a month, I wonder how quickly yeah exactly. You better hope you have crew who can fish, who are really good at fishing, and but can you be imagine you're stuck there with kids who don't like fish?
Yeah.
Be like you. I see why companies do it, and I suppose part of you has to admire them for going. They're trying to justify this, but on the other hand, it's just
Yeah.
again, it doesn't help. It doesn't help make people like yachting or jets.
It did at the beginning, and then suddenly it went all quiet. We're like, okay.
Well, it also takes one billionaire going, "This is where I am sitting out coronavirus," and it just it's just like when the automaker CEOs flew to Washington asking for a bailout in their jets, which, by the way, is completely legitimate. If you're fighting to save a company, you shouldn't be queuing at security. Yeah. But they just had to answer the question properly, and instead they're the poster child. And I think there's enough, if you're an ultra high net worth trying to make yourself popular, don't go on Twitter saying I'm stuck on my yacht. Everything's fine for me.
Keep it down. Yeah, definitely. Cool. And so what are you doing personally for the future? Are you planning anything? Are you one of those creative nutballs who's going crazy about let's change the rules and let's do something different?
I think we're going to do so we've never, the virtual event stuff's going well. I think we're also quite old-fashioned. Maybe it's because I'm in my 40s now, but I think people still want to meet face to face. I think there's a real aim for that. I think we'll play around. We'll definitely do one conference, which will be online only this year. It'll probably be our tech one. We do a really cool tech conference called Revolution.AERO. I'm not selling now, but it's where we have. It's really brilliant. It's the one where we have speakers from NASA. We have Uber doing. We're looking at all the future of flight. A lot of electric aircraft, VTOL, and that conference will lend itself really well to virtual. And apart from that, we're just rescheduling. We're going to try and run events this year. We're going to try and get people together. Yeah. And our hope is that as soon as this is over, and hopefully it'll be over as quickly as possible, people are going to be desperate to meet without an eBay. I think the really interesting thing about eBay, which is the big business aviation convention, but everyone moans about going to eBay, and everyone and I'd like doing the joke about how expensive the hotels rooms are in Geneva and how it makes an aircraft look quite cheap when you've spent £400 for a 1-star hotel by the airport. Or pizza. It's just like ridiculous. But everyone's missing it now, and I actually think next year everyone's going to want all these. After 15 years of everyone moaning about it, I think next year will be an amazing turnout for EBAA because everyone's going to want to go back to it, and you don't notice what you're missing until it's taken away from you.
Isn't it funny that we are very much drawn to people? At the end of the day, it is about getting together. It's the only chance that one has. I mean, all this Skypey stuff and the Zooms and FaceTime, yeah, it's nice, but it doesn't feel the same. You still have that barrier, I suppose, and you can't do touchy-feely and show things, and that's what people love, and to share ideas over a glass of wine even, but in a civil way, So, yeah. We're hoping that you'll get back to everything very soon.
So are we.
And get all these people together and be able to spar on new ideas. So resilience is the key here, and just hang in there.
I guess the other thing I've been doing is I've been calling around. So we have a magazine with longer reads in it, and I've been calling around sort of trying to describe them. Veterans of the industry. I've been calling around. So yes, I spoke to Jean Dassault, 45 years in business aviation, and Brian Moss, who was the president of Gulfstream, and before that he was president of Bombardier and launched the Global and the G650. And actually, the key thing is, Jean from Dassault was going that the worst downturn he faced was actually 81. And none of us remember the 81 down, or very few of us remember the 81 down.
Yeah.
And all of these managers, they've got through it, and we will get through this. It's going to, we're in cyclical industries. These things happen. It will pass, and and it will shape it, and it will make, and it will change it. So we've just got to get through it. And Brian Moss, who was
pulled the carpet from underneath the feet, and now you have to kind of figure out how to stand up again. So maybe it's a good idea. It was too comfortable.
Or just lie down for a bit.
Yeah, well, we need it.
And then lie down for a bit until you think everything's stopped moving. And it's we'll get through this. Like we're all all of our industries all of the industries we're talking about fundamentally have a purpose. All of them are great, and we'll get through it. It's just it's not great fun.
But you've got a community to connect everyone to talk about what their thoughts are on it all, and to maybe actually come up with a game plan. Who knows?
Yeah, and it forces me to shave at least once a week.
Put makeup on for my blog, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's all good.
I was toying with it, wondering whether I need to. So that's good. You know, all these things like, you know, I'm wearing clothes. It's, you know, it could be worse.
And enjoy a bit of garden space or balcony space if you have that. Absolutely. And it's good to spend time with your family and reconnect, because I think a lot of the time when I've been doing interviews, people have been complaining the one thing they don't have and is a luxury to them is time. Well, now we have it. So I hope everyone's taking the most out of it and taking advantage, because it's here now. And who knows?
Yeah, it makes you realise what a fantastic job teachers do.
Yes.
Homeschooling is a nightmare. Although amazingly, the schools are now doing a lot of Microsoft Teams meetings. They're doing, which is and sitting structure. I think the next term will be easier than the end of last term.
Yeah, gosh, wow, this is a new way of education.
It's amazing, yeah.
Fantastic, Alasdair. Well, thanks for coming on. Oh, and I have to mention a big congratulations to you and your team for the amazing award you got last year.
Thank you.
Which was Queen's Award for, what was it, for international trade?
Yeah, for export. Yeah, thank you. It's to be fair, not that many people apply for it. You have to, but it was very nice. And annoyingly, Louisa got to go, but I didn't get to go to Buckingham Palace because we were running our Singapore conference then. So I was in Singapore.
I see. So did she get to meet the Queen?
No, the Queen. No, the Queen was off because of it was the week after Donald Trump's visit.
Oh.
So the Queen was resting.
It was, yes, it was rather challenging. Fantastic. Well, congratulations anyhow. And here's me wishing you all the best for the future. And I hope to see you at the as we come back into normality.
And thanks so much for organising this and bringing everyone together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy your rest of the day. And this was another episode of Luxury with Natalia. More episodes coming soon, especially in the travel industry. Take care, everyone. Bye.